The lock snapped at 2:47 a.m. I heard it from the bedroom. That distinctive crack of a bolt cutter through hardened steel. Then came the metallic screech of my garage door being forced open. The sound every homeowner dreads. The sound that makes your stomach drop and your hands go cold. I was already moving, pulling on jeans, my service weapon instinctively in hand. 23 years of muscle memory. But when I hit the hallway, I froze. Because standing in my driveway, illuminated by motion sensor floods, was HOA President Delilah Crane. 5'0" in designer heels and a cream blazer at 3 in the morning. Behind her, 2 men in generic security uniforms were wheeling my father's 1967 Shelby Mustang, my father's car, out of my garage. Stop. The word ripped from my throat. Delilah turned, smiled. That practiced, venomous smile I'd seen her use to destroy 3 other homeowners in the past 6 months. "Captain Morris Chen," she said, reading from a clipboard like we were at a garden party. "As per HOA Covenant, Section 14, Subsection C, unauthorized vehicle storage constitutes a violation subject to immediate remediation. This vehicle is being impounded for non-compliance. That's my garage, my property. You just committed breaking and entering. Actually," she tapped the clipboard with one manicured nail, "as HOA president, I have the authority to enforce community standards. You signed the covenant when you purchased. You'll find everything in order." Behind me, I heard footsteps. My daughter, Emma, 16 years old, still wearing her dad's old police academy shirt she slept in every night since the funeral. "Dad?" Her voice cracked. "That's Grandpa's car. That's—" She saw them loading it onto the flatbed, saw Delilah's smile. "No!" Emma ran past me, but the flatbed was already moving. She stood in the driveway in her bare feet, watching her grandfather's legacy. The car we'd promised to restore together. The car that smelled like motor oil and his cologne, the last tangible piece of him, disappear around the corner. When she turned back, tears streaming down her face, something in me went absolutely arctic. "You'll receive an invoice for storage fees within 5 business days, Delilah said, "plus the standard violation fine. $12,000 should cover it." She paused at her Mercedes. "Oh, and Captain Chen, I'd advise paying promptly. We have a very efficient foreclosure process." She drove away. Her security goons drove away. And I stood there with my sobbing daughter in an empty driveway, looking at my violated garage, the destroyed lock, the violated sanctity of our home. But here's what Delilah Crane didn't know. I'm not just Captain Morris Chen, 23-year veteran of the police force. I'm Captain Morris Chen, head of the Property Crimes Division, the unit that investigates organized theft rings, fraud operations, and criminal enterprises disguised as legitimate businesses. And I just watched Delilah Crane commit 4 separate felonies, on camera, because my motion sensor floods aren't just lights. I looked at Emma, dried her tears. "We're getting Grandpa's car back. How?" "Because sometimes the sweetest revenge is letting criminals dig their own graves. And baby," she just grabbed the shovel. "Now I need you to do something for me. If someone broke into your home and stole your most precious possession right in front of your family, what would you do? Tell me in the comments where you're watching from and how you'd handle Delilah Crane. Because this story gets insane." Part 2. The Backstory and Inciting Incident. 1 say, 3 so. Let me back up 6 months. My father died in February. Massive heart attack while building a birdhouse in his workshop. He was 68, healthy, vibrant, planning to teach. Emma woodworking that summer. Gone in 90 seconds. My wife Sarah and I decided to move to Willow Creek Estates, a luxury planned community with tree-lined streets and a reputation for good schools. Emma needed stability. I needed space to breathe, to grieve, to figure out how to be a single dad after Sarah's accident 3 years prior left me raising our daughter alone. The house had a 3-car garage, perfect for the Mustang, Dad's pride and joy, the car he'd purchased new in '67, the car he'd washed every Sunday, The car that still had his fuzzy dice and the scratch on the dashboard from when I'd crashed my skateboard into it at age 9. Emma and I made a pact. Every Saturday morning we'd work on restoring it. Together. It was healing. That garage became our sanctuary. The smell of motor oil and old leather. The sound of classic rock on the radio. Emma learning to gap spark plugs. Me teaching her everything Dad taught me. We'd been there exactly 43 days when Delilah showed up. She arrived in a golf cart, white with gold trim, vanity plate reading, Preze. Delilah Crane was a former real estate lawyer who'd made millions flipping properties during the housing boom, lost half of it in the crash, and now ran the HOA like a personal fiefdom. 56 years old, Botox smooth face, eyes like a hammerhead shark. Dead, flat, constantly calculating. She wore her authority like armor. Tailored suits in ice cream colors, pearls, a Bluetooth earpiece she never removed, even at neighborhood barbecues. "Welcome to Willow Creek," she'd said, not smiling. "I'm here to discuss several urgent violations." I'd been rotating my tires. Emma was inside doing homework. "Violations? We've been here 6 weeks." She produced a tablet. Pulled up photos. My house. From multiple angles. "Your grass is currently 3.2 inches. HOA standard is 3 inches maximum. That's violation 1. Swipe. "Your garden hose is coiled counterclockwise. HOA standard specifies clockwise coiling to maintain visual uniformity. Violation 2. Swipe. "Your mailbox flag was raised for 47 minutes past mail delivery today. Maximum permitted duration is 30 minutes. Violation 3. I stared at her. "You're kidding. The HOA covenant is legally binding, Captain Chen. Each violation carries a $200 fine. First offense is waived with a warning. But I expect immediate compliance. She tapped her screen. "Also, I'll need access to your garage for inspection." "Excuse me?" "All structures require quarterly HOA inspection to ensure code compliance. It's in your covenant. Section 31. "No." Her eyes hardened. "I'm sorry?" "No. You're not coming into my garage." "Captain Chen, I can make this very difficult. And I can call my lawyer. The covenant allows scheduled inspections with 72 hours notice. You don't get to show up and demand entry. Now please leave my property." For 3 seconds her mask slipped. I saw the real Delilah, the predator, the sociopath who'd found the perfect hunting ground, an HOA where she could terrorize people legally. "You just made a terrible mistake," she said quietly. She wasn't wrong. The next week, I got 14 violation notices. Trash can visible from street for 9 minutes. Front door wreath not holiday appropriate in March. Car parked at improper angle in my own driveway. Window blinds mismatched because one bedroom had white and another had cream. Total fines, $3,800. I called an attorney. He laughed. HOAs are nearly impossible to fight. They have more legal power than you'd believe. Pay the fines. Fix the violations. Don't make waves. But I'm a cop. I don't ignore criminal behavior. So I started digging. Part 3. The Investigation and Escalation. 3 Tau 6. The first thing I did was pull the HOA financial records. Public information in our state. What I found made my blood run cold. Willow Creek Estates had 342 homes. Annual HOA fees averaged $2,400 per household. That's $800 in revenue yearly. The budget showed appropriate expenses. Landscaping, community pool, street maintenance. But when I cross-referenced the vendor contracts, nothing matched. The landscaping company that supposedly received $180,000 annually registered to a P.O. box. No business license, no employees. The address was a mailboxes, etc. in the next county. The pool maintenance company? Same story. Shell Corporation. Delilah's nephew was listed as the registered agent. The security service charging $4,000 monthly. Another fake company. This one traced back to Delilah's ex-husband. She wasn't just running an HOA, she was running a money laundering operation disguised as community management. But it got worse. I found records of 17 foreclosures in the past 5 years. Homeowners who'd fallen behind on fines. Delilah's companies had purchased every single property at auction, flipped them, and pocketed the profit. She'd refined violation notices into a science. Impossible standards, subjective interpretations, escalating fines. She'd target one homeowner at a time, bury them in fees, then force foreclosure when they couldn't pay. It was systematic, calculated, evil. I needed an ally. I found one in Mrs. Huang. She lived 3 houses down, 74 years old, immaculate garden, always waving from her porch. I'd helped her carry groceries once. She'd insisted I come in for tea and homemade dumplings. "You're investigating Delilah," she said when I showed up at her door with my findings. Not a question, a statement. "How did you—" "Because you're the first person in 5 years with the backbone to do it." She ushered me inside, closed the curtains. "I'm Margaret Huang, retired federal prosecutor. 32 years, specialized in RICO cases." My jaw dropped. "Delilah doesn't know my background," Margaret continued. "I keep a low profile, but I've been documenting everything. Come with me." Her spare bedroom was converted into a command center, whiteboard covered in timelines, bankers' boxes filled with printed emails, a laptop showing spreadsheets that would make an FBI forensic accountant weep with joy. "Holy hell," I whispered. "I've been building this case for 3 years," Margaret said. "But I needed someone with active law enforcement connections, someone she'd target, someone who'd fight back." "Why'd you wait so long?" "Because I needed her confident, sloppy. These types of criminals, they're careful at first. But success breeds arrogance." She pulled out a file. "Delilah's gotten bolder. Fake violations, forged covenant amendments. She even filed fraudulent liens against properties to block sales. I have everything except—" "Except what?" "Proof she's directly involved. Everything traces to shell companies and associates. A good defense attorney could claim she's just incompetent, not criminal. I need her on camera, committing a clear, indisputable felony." I looked at the Mustang photos on her board. She'd been tracking Delilah's interest in my garage. "She wants your father's car," Margaret said. "Classic Shelby Mustang, worth $150,000 minimum at auction. She's already filed internal HOA documents claiming it's abandoned property. She's planning to seize it." "Let her," I said. Margaret smiled. "That's what I was hoping you'd say." Over the next month, Delilah escalated right on schedule. I got 31 violation notices. Ridiculous things. My daughter's bike in the driveway for 12 minutes. A package on the porch for 6 hours. My kitchen light on past 11 p.m., creating light pollution. The fines hit $12,000. Then $18,000 when I didn't pay within the arbitrary 10-day window. Then came the letter. "Dear Captain Chen, due to chronic noncompliance and accumulating violations, the HOA board has voted to authorize direct remediation of your property. Specifically, the unauthorized vehicle stored in your garage must be removed and impounded until all fees are satisfied. Failure to comply will result in foreclosure proceedings." It was signed by all 5 board members. Except I'd met those board members. Retired couple, young family, a widow, nice people who'd been steamrolled by Delilah, so I called them. None of them had signed anything. None of them knew about any vote. Delilah had forged their signatures, fabricated board meeting minutes, created an entirely fictional paper trail. That's when I called Detective Sarah Reyes from our department's fraud division, then Agent Marcus Webb from the FBI's white-collar crimes unit. "How solid is your evidence?" Webb asked. "Margaret Huang's been documenting for 3 years. Everything's admissible. And we're about to get Delilah on camera committing breaking and entering, theft, and fraud." "How?" "By giving her exactly what she wants. I installed security cameras, hidden ones, high definition with night vision, covering every angle of my garage, driveway, and street. Then I waited. Emma noticed I wasn't worried about the threats anymore. "Dad, what if they really do take Grandpa's car?" Then they're going to prison, sweetheart. You sound like you want them to steal it. I do. She studied my face. She's smart. Too smart. You're setting a trap. I'm documenting a crime. That's the same thing. Yes, it is. She grinned. Exactly like her grandfather used to grin when he was about to win an argument. Can I watch when you arrest her? Front row seat. Part 4. The Trap and Climactic Confrontation. 8. The night Delilah broke into my garage, I was ready. The cameras captured everything. The van pulling up. The 2 security contractors, actually day laborers Delilah had hired off Craigslist. The bolt cutters. Delilah herself, directing the operation like a conductor. Breaking and entering. Grand theft auto, conspiracy, forgery, all on crystal clear 4K video. But I didn't just want Delilah. I wanted the entire network, so I let them take the car. They impounded it at Willow Creek Storage, another shell company, a warehouse unit Delilah rented under a fake business name. I filed a police report, theft of motor vehicle. But I filed it with Detective Reyes, who was already working with FBI agent Webb. Meanwhile, Margaret dropped a bomb. She'd found the other victims, 17 families who'd lost their homes. We tracked them down, interviewed them. Every single one had the same story. Impossible violations, forged documents, liens appearing on their titles without warning, foreclosures pushed through in weeks instead of months. 1 family had lost a home they'd owned for 23 years over $4,200 in HOA fines. Another had been forced out 3 days before Christmas. Delilah had destroyed these people's lives and profited millions doing it. Agent Webb presented everything to a federal prosecutor. Grand jury indictment came back in 72 hours. 15 counts. Fraud, racketeering, wire, fraud, theft, forgery, conspiracy, criminal, impersonation. But we didn't serve the warrant immediately because Delilah sent me her final demand letter. Captain Chen, your account is now delinquent by $20,600. As per Covenant Section 47, the HOA is initiating foreclosure proceedings on your property. You have 72 hours to vacate the premises. All personal property will be seized and sold at auction to satisfy the debt. Foreclosure. In 3 days, I called Margaret. Is this legal? Absolutely not. But she's done it before. She files fraudulent foreclosure papers, intimidates the homeowner into leaving, then takes possession and sells. By the time anyone challenges it, she's already offloaded the property. Then we end this now, Webb agreed. We'll execute the warrant when she comes to seize your house. Day 73. 10 a.m. Delilah arrived with an army. 2 sheriff's deputies, real ones who'd been fed false information about a legitimate foreclosure. A locksmith, a moving truck, 3 more contractors, a real estate agent with a photographer, already staging my house for sale. Emma and I stood in the driveway. She was holding my hand so tight I could feel her pulse. Delilah stepped out of her Mercedes. She was wearing white, head to toe, like she was attending a yacht party. Captain Chen, the property is now under HOA control. You need to leave. This is illegal, I said, loud enough for the body camera I was wearing. You don't have a legal foreclosure order. You don't have court approval. This is theft. I have every legal document. You have forgeries. And I have proof. Her face twitched. First sign of real fear. That's when 6 unmarked cars pulled up. Detective Reyes, Agent Webb, 4 more FBI agents, 2 assistant U.S. attorneys. Webb walked straight to Delilah. Delilah Crane, you're under arrest for racketeering, fraud, grand theft. This is harassment. Delilah shrieked. I'm an HOA president. I'm authorized. You're authorized to shut up, Reyes said, cuffing her. You have the right to remain silent. I strongly suggest you use it. The real sheriff's deputies looked confused. The locksmith dropped his tools. The contractors backed away. One of the assistant attorneys addressed them. If anyone here was hired by Ms. Crane for today's activities, stay put. You're witnesses. If you were knowingly involved in the fraudulent scheme, You're about to be charged." The locksmith and contractors stayed. They'd been duped, but the real estate agent ran. She made it 6 feet before an FBI agent tackled her into my petunias. "Conspiracy," Webb said cheerfully. "Gotta love it." They arrested Delilah in my driveway. The whole neighborhood came out. People I'd never met. Families who'd been terrorized for years. Margaret appeared with her boxes of evidence. "I think you'll need these, Agent Webb." He looked at her documentation. Whistled. "Ma'am, with all due respect, you should have been working for us." I was. 32 years. Now I'm retired and solving crimes for fun. They perp-walked Delilah to the FBI car. She was screaming, threatening lawsuits, threatening me. Emma squeezed my hand. "We got her, Dad." We got her. One of the FBI agents approached. "Captain Chen, we located your vehicle. It's being transported from the storage unit now. Should arrive in about an hour." "Thank you." "Also, we've frozen all of Ms. Crane's accounts and seized her properties. The 17 families who lost their homes? They're getting restitution. Full value plus damages." I looked at Margaret. She had tears in her eyes. "Justice," she whispered. Finally. The FBI car drove away with Delilah in the back. The whole neighborhood erupted in cheers, and exactly 53 minutes later, a flatbed arrived, my father's Mustang, intact, unharmed. Emma and I rolled it back into the garage together. She was crying. "Happy tears this time. Grandpa would have loved this," she said. "He would have loved that you never gave up. He would have loved that you never gave up." We spent the rest of the day in that garage, working on the car, listening to classic rock. Healing. Part 5. The Resolution and Legacy. 8 Rad End. Delilah Crane's trial lasted 3 weeks. The evidence was overwhelming. Margaret's documentation, FBI forensic accounting, testimony from 17 families, my video footage of the garage break-in. Her defense attorney tried to claim she was just overzealous about HOA rules. The jury deliberated for 90 minutes, guilty on all 15 counts. The judge gave her 12 years in federal prison, plus $4.7 million in restitution to victims, plus permanent ban from serving on any HOA or community board for life. Her co-conspirators, the nephew, the ex-husband, the real estate agent, got sentences ranging from 3 to 7 years. The shell companies were dissolved, assets seized. Every penny recovered went back to the families she'd destroyed. But the real justice came in how Willow Creek transformed. The old HOA board was dissolved. Delilah's cronies resigned. We held emergency elections. Margaret Huang became the new president. Her first act? Revising the covenants. Reasonable rules. Democratic oversight. Transparent finances. No more subjective violations. No more ridiculous fines. She created a victims fund from Delilah's seized assets. Families who'd lost homes got first priority. The young couple who'd been forced out before Christmas. They bought back their house. The elderly man who'd been foreclosed on. His grandchildren purchased the property and deeded it back to him. 17 families restored. 17 lives rebuilt. For Emma and me, the garage became what we'd always intended. Our sanctuary. Our healing space. Our connection to the man who'd taught us both what integrity meant. We finished restoring the Mustang in November. 10 months of work. New paint. Rebuilt engine. Original interior restored to factory condition. On Thanksgiving morning, Emma and I took it for its first drive in 40 years. We drove to the cemetery, parked beside Dad's grave, played his favorite song, Born to be Wild, on the original radio. "He's proud of you," Emma said. "He's proud of us," I corrected. "You never gave up. Not once. I learned that from you. And Grandpa." We sat there in the Mustang for an hour, talking, remembering, laughing, and then we drove home to a neighborhood that was finally, truly free. Here's what I learned from this entire nightmare. Delilah Crane thought the HOA gave her power. She thought the rules protected her. She thought people like me would just roll over and pay. But she forgot something fundamental. The law is only as strong as the people willing to enforce it, and communities are only as safe as the people willing to stand up. She picked the wrong garage, the wrong car, the wrong family, and she got exactly what she deserved. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever dealt with an HOA nightmare? A power-hungry president? Ridiculous violations that made no sense? Drop your story in the comments. I read every single one. And if you think this story was wild, wait until you hear about the HOA Karen who tried to claim my neighbor's lakefront property using forged deeds. She had no idea he was a federal judge. That video drops next week. Click subscribe so you don't miss it. Tell me where you're watching from and what you would have done in my situation. Would you have set the trap like I did? Or would you have handled Delilah differently? Drop a comment. Hit that like button if you love seeing justice served. And remember, sometimes the sweetest revenge is letting criminals dig their own graves. You just have to be patient enough to let them grab the shovel. I'm Captain Morris Chen. This is HOA Stories. And this is what happens when you break into the wrong garage. See you in the next one. See you in the next one.